kids.
This is Learning to Dad
I'm the cool dad. That's my thing.
with Tyler Ross.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills.
I'm gonna have fun, and you're gonna have fun.
Hello, this is Learning to Dad, and I'm Tyler Ross. My guest today is Casey Ward. Casey is the owner of Molly's Irish Pub in Warrenton, Virginia, and is, what would you call yourself, a co-founder of Altered Suds Beer Company, which is going to open this year?
This year, pretty soon.
Yeah, cool. So thanks for giving me your time. We've known each other for ages. But tell me now, for the benefit of anybody listening, kind of your current state of affairs, like what your business is and kind of your wife and kids.
Great. Thanks for having me on this. So, yeah, I worked at the pub for years before taking over, and this is now coming up on 5 years that I've been owning it outright. We've seen a lot of improvement. Definitely have a lot of it's just a lot busier. And I think we're doing really well. So that's going great. Like I said, we have the brewery on the way within a few months. As soon as we get some construction details figured out.
Yeah.
So I live in Warrenton, just a few blocks from the pub. We just moved to did a 180 from we were in a zero maintenance townhouse, and we just bought a historic house in Old Town, so we're kind of learning some new things about home maintenance.
I actually saw you walking on Winchester Street the other day. I assume on your way to work or on your way back. Yep.
Yeah, we just bought that house on Chestnut Street.
Yeah.
With my wife Lindsay and we have 2 kids. We have our daughter Finley is 3.5, and our boy Benji is he turned 1 in October, so he's coming along towards almost 1.5. Lindsay works at Highland, so it's great. We're that central. She's got about a straight mile to roll down the hill to get to work, and Finley's in preschool there.
That's awesome. You started working at Molly's. Were you what were you, 20?
I was 19 when I started working there, actually.
Yeah.
So I was just serving and just kind of, it was just sort of a job just to get some money together and keep traveling, and then kind of came and went a few times, and then as I settled in, I sort of settled in with more responsibilities there, and it just kind of took off.
So what kind of traveling were you doing?
I had been doing a backpacking thing before Molly's. I was throughout Europe, mostly just taking the trains through a good bit of Western Europe and down south through Spain and Italy, and then ended up in England, in Oxford, for about 6 months. Started working at pubs.
Oh,
there.
wow. So was that a planned thing, or you just kind of went over there and shot from the hip the whole time?
The entire time was just
solo?
Was with a couple friends, at different times. We traveled, would meet up and travel a few legs together, but because I was gone for a little over a year.
Wow.
And so I got home, still had the travel bug, started waiting tables to get some cash together, and then got enough money to make it out to New Zealand.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
So I was in New Zealand for about 7-8 months.
Was that kind of your introduction to the bar and pub world?
Yeah. And a much different kind of dynamic than it is here, but it was kind of the introduction to that. And then, each time I come home, I'd be broke, and I'd get back to work, and eventually just kind of settled in.
Oh, that's really cool. So that experience, one that you recommend that everybody have?
Yeah, I think, maybe like anything, it's maybe not for everybody, but I learned a lot more about independent living and, basically being on your own in a foreign place makes you figure some things out.
Yeah, and did you basically elect to that versus college? Did you go to college?
At first, yeah.
Yeah. Did you end up going to college?
Ended up going to college, some college.
Yeah.
Never finished anything.
Yeah, and that was probably as much or better of an experience for you, particularly the way your life's played out since then.
The way it worked out, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, so did you bring anything back from there that kind of changed your perspective here?
I think I learned a lot more about work ethic,
Yeah.
about, when you were actually working for a living and not just in high school working hourly jobs and just, doing whatever you needed to do to not get fired.
Sure, yeah. Well, so like, how about Molly's? Like when you started working there, what point did you think I'd like to? Because I'm pretty sure every person on the planet at some point has uttered the words, "Let's open a restaurant,"
right,
or "I want to own a bar." So like when you were working in Molly's, which to anybody who's in Warrenton listening to this podcast should absolutely go. Casey's done an amazing job. But at what point did you think I might own this place one day?
I don't know. It always was something that, after a few years, it was something that I was always toying around with, either taking over that or starting something different if that opportunity didn't come up. Fully aware of the amount of work that goes into it and the unique challenges that you come up with. You do find a lot of people that, I go to bars a lot, so I have a lot of opinions on the way it should be run.
Sure.
So I definitely knew what I was getting into, but before any real plans for something different came along, the opportunity looked like, Molly's wasn't going to be, the original owners were looking for an exit strategy.
Yeah.
So for a few years, that was really just the focus.
So for anybody who might be thinking about buying a restaurant or a bar or starting one, do you have any advice for somebody based on your experience that you wish you had done this or wish you had done that?
I don't know what I wish I would have done different. I just think focusing on managing people and working with restaurant people, it's a lot of fun, and it has its own set of challenges. There's a lot of people that are just sort of doing it because it's kind of how I started with it. It was just get a job because it's a job and make some money and try to make them focus the energies they have on that and maybe grow a little bit.
You find that I know in a lot of places being a server or bartender is a hell of a career. I know particularly the larger cities in Warrenton, it doesn't feel like the perception is that it's a job versus a career, where it can very much be a career.
Sure. I mean, it was the lifestyle really got to me for a while, but when I was bartending, 5 nights a week, and this was the lifestyle was tough because I'd go into work at 6 p.m. I'd get home 2:30 or 3, be up for a few more hours after that, sleep all day, get back into work, But for being 23, 24, I was making, a lot more money than I thought that was possible to make doing that, and being, engaged at work every night meant I wasn't spending in it. I bought a house when I was 23.
That's amazing.
Because it was really pretty lucrative. It just got to the point that I needed to kind of diversify what I was doing at the pub and not just be there.
Well, you were the man. Yeah. We didn't want to go to Molly's unless Casey was bartending, so you were the man. Like any servers who are looking at it as a job, that are just clocking in and clocking out, or any bartenders that just are trying to get to the end of their shift. I mean, you made the best of it. Was any approach or advice you'd give to somebody that's could do better?
Just take pride in it is all. There's people like it is a service industry, and people can feel like it's they could feel like, oh, it's it's beneath them to be serving drinks or serving food, but it's not. It's a good job. It's providing a service that people appreciate and take pride in doing it well, and that shows, and people appreciate that, and you have a lot more fun and do a lot better at the job if you just take that approach to it.
Yeah. I waited tables for a period of time, and it really could be a lot of fun. And like you said, pretty lucrative, if you're human and treat people well, and they tend to tip you a little bit better than if you're a jackass.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Well, so is there any difficulty for you transitioning from being a bartender to, did you manage it at one point?
Yeah.
And then to ownership?
Yeah, there was always just I guess of any time going from colleague to boss is difficult with some people. It was tough adjusting my lifestyle, my schedule from stay up all night to being in there in the mornings and getting all the logistical stuff done. But it's definitely been a good transition, and I like that. It's great now that I've just got an excellent staff, and I know that I can go home and be home for dinner, and it's in good hands.
So you probably learned a lot of that. I mean, under the ownership past, but then I imagine you had some hard knocks on your own that you had to learn some lessons.
Sure.
Yeah, any in particular jump out as like, man, that was a tough transition into being an owner?
It was, I don't know, just I guess that realization one day when, and it with a small business and how you're tied to it. And now one good thing with restaurant industry is there's restaurants everywhere, and you always felt like, well, if I want to move to the beach, if I want to move to Charlottesville, whatever, there's always a restaurant there. That realization that, nope, like this is it, and better or for worse. But that's been good. This is my opinion. I don't know anything other than simply just it being my opinion. But when ownership changes hands, unless you've got a really incredible thing going, I feel like it makes a lot of sense to automatically come in and make your mark. The big sign under new management is so often seen. Were there some changes that you were ready to just not better or worse, just what you wanted to do? There was, and I had been managing it, sort of running it as my own for a while before that. So there was no, I would joke beforehand when people would be, what's going to happen? And I say, it's not like a disco ball is going to drop down from the ceiling on day one. It was little changes. It was promoting some people who I knew were going to be, it's a lot of different personalities, and I knew some of the personalities were going to clash with the previous ownership. So plugging some of those in, and just a good thing about Molly's is it's so central to such a small town. We didn't need a banner saying under new management. Word gets around, and it. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I have a vivid memory of when you took it over.
Right.
But like I said, I think you've done a wonderful job with it, and I can't think of a place in town that's better to take your family.
Good.
We take our kids there constantly.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want.
Yeah, it's great, man. So tell me about the risk associated with buying it, because you have to be entrepreneurial to some extent to own a business and acquiring someone else's business. You didn't get to start it exactly the way you wanted. So did you feel like you were taking on a major risk when you bought it, or did you feel like you'd been there long enough, like you knew what to expect?
I felt like I knew the ins and outs, and I knew where it needed to improve, but I also knew that a big part of it, and I was just thinking the other day, of independently owned restaurants in Warrenton. I'm thinking the diner and maybe El Agave, maybe of what's been around longer.
Yeah.
So to take over something with that amount of longevity, for better or for worse, especially where it is right kind of center of Old Town, I think that had a lot of value to it.
Definitely. Well, let's talk more about risk, because now we'll get into family stuff, but you have a family now. You have kind of, sounds like, no longer the restaurant bartender hours, but you're getting ready to open a brewery in the same building. How's that? Is it starting a business versus buying one? How's that process been different?
It's definitely been a lot. This brewery has been a lot of work, and that's been kind of kind of the agreement with the partners was, I was going to be more focused on getting this up off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It's helpful that I'm right there.
Yeah.
To meet with contractors and meet with inspectors and everything else, and get some of the business side squared away. So it's more, I'm glad I had the experience that I had with the pub before starting this, and just the connections in town and things like that.
And you're making an investment in this, right?
Right.
And so what's your risk factor? Like you started with conversation, hey, there's an idea, and now you're actually implementing it. Like, how much do you feel you've closed the gap in terms of, like, is this going to work?
I think I think we're close. I think that risk wise, I'm not out anything that I couldn't stand to lose. I think the reward, not just having the brewery, which has always been a dream, but the way it's gonna complement Molly's is gonna be something. It's really gonna be busy. There's gonna be a lot of people there to check it out, and the pub will benefit, because we'll be supplying the food. Also, it being right there, there's going to be a lot of back and forth between the two businesses. It's really going to do well for us.
Yeah. Tell me about what the brewery's going to look like.
It's the basement down there is pretty subterranean.
Yeah.
It's a little. So the building was originally a department store, and then carved up into a couple suites. So this is the basement of that, where the pub and the jewelry store are currently upstairs.
So you can get that entire area.
Yeah.
Floor. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Come by and check it out. It's a big footprint. It's not all usable space, and it's it's concrete floor and cinder block walls, and so it's going to have that kind of that vibe of being a basement brewery.
That's cool. It's like home brewers are going to love that, I would think.
Yeah, and not dress it up to be any more than, the focus is on the beer and on the quality of the product we're doing. And, there's some places around here with, lots and lots of money that built up these huge facilities and kind of lost focus on what the important part was with the brewery, and that's being a good product. So focus on that first, and then we'll work on, the decor as we go along and everything else.
Cool. And I've read the Falkier Now article that said that this was going to be a place with that was really for beer connoisseurs. Do you feel like it's going to not draw the masses so much as people that are really kind of into craft brews? Or
I think, obviously we want to get a bit of both, but it's going to be, there is going to be some of, every brewery tries to have something that appeals to the Bud Light drinker or something like that. And we might necessarily not have something quite like that. There'll be lighter options or a good Pilsner or something, but I think the idea is we have our clientele sort of that, a clientele that we can focus on. Yeah. And given the space and the output that we're capable of making right now, we don't really need to go bigger. Yeah. Because we can just do.
You're going to sell all on site and growlers and stuff? You think
growlers and cans. Yeah. We got a canning machine,
yeah.
And I'll be able to sell it up out of the pub as well.
Oh, very cool. So you think you'll sell it in other shops, retail spots?
We will eventually once there's sign on with the distributor.
Okay.
We'll have to. That'll come later once we've established a little bit more, because that's a new contract and a new,
Yeah.
Let's make sure we get enough beer for the people that are there before we start cranking it out to elsewhere.
Cool, that'll be fun. You'll have high demand right out of the gate.
Yeah,
no question. Also, tell me tell me how you met Lindsay.
So Lindsay, we knew each other through the pub.
Yeah.
So for years.
A lot of people say we met at a bar, but you get to say we met at my bar.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was close with my brother actually, and sort of his circle of friends, and we just reached a point like we had both kind of gotten out of some long relationships and started spending more time together, and it just kind of happened like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then so you had Finley about 3.5 years ago, kind of, you had owned the Molly's for maybe a year and a half.
Barely. Yeah. It was right around it ended up being when we found out we were pregnant, and then I'm looking at the timeline, like this doesn't give me much time between taking over the business and having a baby.
Yeah, talk about that. I mean, was that like high stress level midnight type of thing?
A bit, you know, but I don't know. I feel like I've learned in the last couple of years to just take things as they come, and you know.
So it's so easy to say, but I wonder, like, did you go through something to get to that point in your mind? Do you feel like it was a maturity that you hit, or a book that you read, or some mental practice that you started participating in?
It was, I think, just too many anxiety attacks, and just trying to come up with a way of better compartmentalizing things, and you know, make lists, and just try to look at one thing at a time and not end up.
Do you make lists daily?
All the time, yeah.
All the time. I find that's a tool for a lot of people, especially people that are, you know, I want to say entrepreneurial or ambitious or have, you know, goals, and that's a good way to knock them off.
Just scratch pads, and just every time I have one of those days where I feel like there's just 1,000 things to do, make a list and cross out some easy things, and then it seems a lot less overwhelming.
Yeah, they say if you get like a dopamine hit once you cross something off your list.
Okay.
So like even if you were feeling like you needed it, you could write, you know, even though you brushed your teeth, you know, this morning, you could write brush my teeth and then cross it off the list, and you get that same hit, you know, even though it's a task accomplished hours and hours ago.
Right.
Was there some, like, what was your kind of emotional state thinking, okay, I got a kid, got a brand new business that I own now, like, you know, how did that change the way you did your business?
It made, I guess, started to be a little bit more careful. It's still sort of,
in terms of like risk management, or
in terms of risk management, and sort of impressing on my employees and everything that, you know, here's some responsibilities that I need you to take over because I've got a newborn at home, that kind of thing.
How'd that change your hours?
It made me a lot more flexible, you know.
Did it?
Just giving more. Well, it kind of, rather than trying to be, you know, because they say, oh, with a lot of businesses, especially a restaurant, you need to be there all the time.
Yeah.
And kind of came to this, and I knew getting into it, I didn't want to be one of those restaurant owners that is there 70, 80 hours a week, and you know, if I'm not there, we're not open. You know, they shut down for 2 weeks to go on vacation, kind of thing. It's like, I have good people, and try to put trust in them, and try to, you know, hope they learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
And I learn from the mistakes too, you know.
Funny, I read, I'm reading a book this morning. I read that, I think it was IBM. Somebody had made a $600,000 mistake, and somebody asked their boss, you know, you going to fire this guy? And the guy said, no way. I just spent $600,000 educating him.
I mean, my philosophy with a lot of that is I'd much rather have them make the wrong decision than make no decision.
Yeah.
Or just say, oh, you weren't here, so I did nothing.
Mm-hmm. Give it a chance.
Give it a try. You know, and if it is wrong, then you learn from it. But if it's nothing, then
yeah. So have you, since over the last 5 years, like, your turnover as far as people has reduced? And
by quite a bit, you know. Yeah. I remember it used to be tax time. Our stack of W-2s would be 2 inches thick of the number of people that just came in and out throughout that year. And, you know, this year was a very small pile of people that didn't work there anymore.
Yeah, I know every time I go in there, I see the same 4 or 5 people, and I think it's great.
Yeah, and I think they're happy, and I think, you know, they have a sense of security that, you know, we're able to work with them through through different problems and different issues, and that makes them generally happier at work.
Yeah. So, do you ever bring your kids into work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finley knows. She
She
knows
know how to make a martini.
Well, yeah, she knows how to turn on Netflix in my office. So she usually runs back there and gets in the chair and knows who to ask for applesauce and some cheese and some milk.
Yeah,
and
she's not back there busting tables or anything.
Not yet.
Just yet.
Not yet. Yeah. We'll see.
You think you'll put her to work right away as soon as she's able to start carrying the buckets and all that?
I know she'll want to help.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll come up with some little duties for her. She can help.
What do you think the effect is going to be on like raising her basically in a restaurant?
I think, my goal is to impress upon her. I don't want her coming in thinking, my parents own this place.
Yeah.
That sort of attitude. I want her to be on her absolute best behavior because her parents own this place. So hopefully we'll be able to instill that responsibility in her that, this isn't free reign to behave any way you want. That just the opposite. You need to be extra mindful. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that environment would be such a cool one because, you think about. I'm sure you've had a broom in your hand in the bathroom or whatever.
Sure.
That's you're the owner.
Right.
Yeah.
So a plunger sometimes.
Yeah, sure. What was your childhood like? Were you live in the country, live in the town?
I grew up just outside of town.
Yeah.
Both my parents are teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They're retired now, but they're both public school teachers. So they definitely, instilled that sense of just, it's not all about the money and the paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
It's find what you enjoy doing and what you think you can make a difference at.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, now you're living that again. You marry a teacher.
Married a teacher.
You stay close to what you know.
Yeah, married a math teacher. Never thought I would.
Lindsay's math teacher.
Was never much of a math student. But
yeah, just show me math by 20%. Mm-hmm. Show me that 20% tip. And I can do that math all day long.
True. Well.
So, what's your parenting style relative to Lindsay's?
I think we are kind of on the same page. With most stuff, we're both Lindsay a bit more than me, but we like to have a plan. Mm-hmm. We like to have, if possible, what can we try to do with, keeping her occupied when we try to not park her in front of the TV and things like that. So, that can be exhausting with a 3-year-old to, you come up with activities and each one eats up 3 minutes and it's time to move on to something else. It makes a
mess of your entire house.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of parents sitting their kids down in your restaurant and sticking an iPad in front of their face.
Yeah, there is a good bit of that. And sometimes I think that's appropriate when, if you're bringing your kid along and it's you're meeting a few adult friends and they're not, you can't expect them to be entertained for all that long. Mm-hmm. If they're just coming along because dad's going to come and have lunch or come and have a beer or two, meet up with some friends and stuff. I don't think that's inappropriate to say, entertain yourself. I'm entertaining myself doing this. Here, you can have that. But, you see some of them, you see a whole family on their tablets just staring at them and eating their burgers. And, that's always a bit depressing, but it's...
Mm-hmm. I know we've done that. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel so dumb if somebody was only taking a picture of us now.
I know. Or Lindsay and I will be at home, on the couch and the kids are running around. We're both just staring at our phones and we catch ourselves doing it all the time, but it's a hard habit to break.
Have you guys tried to institute any rules or, habits to try to keep that from happening?
We've done, no screens at the dinner table, and beyond that, we haven't really moved quite. Other than limiting her TV, limiting her iPad time.
Yeah, And then how's she do when you take it away from her?
You know, it's it's a bit rough. She's getting better at trying to bargain. It's pretty cute, you know.
So how do you, like, I have a 3.5 or 4.5-year-old, and it's like trying to keep them in their lane isn't always easy. Like,
right.
Do you have anything that you kind of like your go-to of, like, if Finley is not doing what she's supposed to do, here's my plan?
We usually we start with the concept of a reward.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work, then it's, you know, the prospect of punishment after that, you know.
Well, what's that look like? I can't figure out how to punish my kid. I don't know what to do.
Mostly we threaten to take away the TV.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of, you know.
Yeah. I say I'm going to start taking stuff. I'm going to start taking your stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm making her attached to her stuff.
Right.
So, no, not my things, not my stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't figured out the right thing. And you ever think about spanking your kid?
No, not really.
Either.
It's something I haven't been able to even think about bringing up yet. Like, I think about.
Did you ever get spanked?
There were times when it would be, and I just didn't want it to be what I don't want to happen with my kids is I don't want it to be because I'm angry.
Yeah.
I want it. If the situation is something where, you know, I need to teach you to not run in the road, or something where safety, it's like, I would need you to learn this so you don't get seriously hurt.
Yeah.
And this is the only way I can do it. Then that's where I think it's appropriate, but I want to make sure I'm not doing it just because I'm angry.
Yeah.
And fed up, because it can be easy to get angry and fed up.
So when you do get angry and fed up, do you have anything like a mantra in your head that you say to kind of cool you down?
I don't think, not really a mantra.
Like a
I guess
practice
just
or anything?
a
couple deep breaths.
I try to just stay, you know, with most things I try to stay as even keeled as possible. So I try to just take a deep breath and hope that.
It's funny. They can work you up, man.
Oh man, yeah.
And then they stop being worked up, and you're still worked up. Like, they compartmentalize better than anybody, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, they just move on.
Yeah.
It was not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I barked at Riley the other day, and to the point that he got upset. Like, he was doing something I asked him a million times not to do, and I finally barked at him, and he started crying, and he wanted to be consoled. And who'd he turn to be consoled by? Me.
Right.
It's like, dude, I'm the one that just pissed you off.
Yeah.
Like, I admire how quickly you got over that, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So what's something that might have been unexpected being a dad?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. You
changed more diapers than you thought you would?
Changed a lot of diapers. I think I knew that
Saw
was
that coming.
That was coming.
Yeah, the old 8 a day or 10 a day.
Yeah, I guess the biggest adjustment was going from one to having two.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you're on your own with both of them, and how much that can, you know, just this morning, I think Lindsay was downstairs exercising, and they both woke up at the same time in the morning, and just to be able to, you know, they're both crying, and who do you get to first? And, you know, boy needs a bottle, and Finley just needs to be some help getting on the potty. And
Did Lindsay stay at home for a little while, or did she continue to work?
She continued to work, basically. She got her 12 weeks or so. But loves Highland, loves her career there. Wanted to stay.
Yeah.
You know, just wanted to work something out with them to not lose that.
It's a great spot. That's what Sarah's working there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a good community. She really likes it. Like, I wish sometimes that it could be. She puts in about 120%.
Yeah.
And that's really what you have to do there. And I wish there was a way she could work in a 80% capacity.
Yeah.
But this is just not what the job is.
Got to buy in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, you see any reflections of yourself in Benji or Finley?
Yeah, I mean, Finley's definitely my little doppelganger.
Yeah?
For sure.
How about in her behavior?
And that, I think, Yeah, just maybe just a bit of the insecurity that I guess I felt like I've always had, and I can see in her.
Really?
And just try to.
Does that acknowledgement make you like feel like you need to do something about it or address it, or like just is it like a bonding thing? Like,
I don't know. It's hard right now because we're not at the level to be able to talk about things like that. But then she's very shy, but I was shy. Lindsay was very, very shy as well, and so help her along. But also we know it's something that you kind of just have to grow up some and grow out of it.
Yeah, definitely. I don't want him to grow up too fast, but like enjoy it now. But there's so many things I want to do and talk about and be able to converse with. So up to this point at 1.5 and 3.5, like, what are some qualities that have kind of been brought out in you that you're proud of as a dad?
I think being able to keep a cool head.
Yeah.
I've been able to do that and not I don't feel like I've ever lost it on my kids, at least not yet. So I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the flexibility that I have with the pub, and where I'm available when one of them is sick and I need to go pick him up from daycare and take him to the doctor, or I need to do these things that even though I'm the main breadwinner for the house, I'm still able to take a lot of responsibilities with just the day-to-day kid stuff. That if I was commuting to Reston every day, getting home late, and I would never be able to do those things. I'd be getting home after they're already in bed. Just not be available if Finley has a fever and has to come home, or we
scheduled this, and you had the availability to do that.
Right,
you weren't at work, and you were able to do that. Yeah, I find that to be one of the. I mean, I would do it anyway, and you would too, because you did. But that to be a driving force to never go get a job, to be able to stay available.
Absolutely.
As wanted or as needed. Is there anything that you're finding your role changing as a parent, since the kids were born versus being almost 4?
I don't know, trying to be more active and trying to set that example. Lindsay's great. Liz super fit and always out getting exercise, and I'm trying to work myself up to being more active and being out and not just be a good example for them with that, especially as the more they're paying attention. So that kind of thing, screen time, they're paying attention more. So I don't want them to think it's okay to just be staring at your phone all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of adjusting as they get more aware.
Have you noticed that your social life has changed dramatically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
It's just been, now all of a sudden, we saved a lot of money. Because we were definitely spending a lot of money going out to eat and going out before Finley was born.
Yeah.
And now we hardly ever do it, and the people we hang out with are generally in the same boat as us, with because they can sympathize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it ends up being takeout at somebody's house, or
something like that, or we get together at for dinner at 5:30, so that everybody can be back home and in bed by 7 or 7:30. It's definitely we went and stayed at a friend's cottage on the bay in Maryland last year, and they have a boy who's Finley's age, and we were just the kids were in bed, and we were just sitting around talking and having some drinks, and we realized it was almost 2 a.m. and how that used to be a pretty normal thing, and we were all shocked and kind of appalled with how well, it was just we all knew how early wake up time was going to come.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Appalled. As a restaurant owner, you eat a lot of your own food.
Yeah.
I'd imagine
Yeah.
you can order off menu every now and
I'll
then.
order off menu. Try to only eat so many of the fries, you know.
Okay,
But it's good, and I think it actually looks. I've had a few people. I'll be sitting eating lunch at the bar, and I've had people come up to me and say, "It's good to see the guy that owns the place eating there." You know, I'm not bringing in takeout from Subway or something. You know,
Right. Yeah, that's not a great look for the guy
Yeah,
that runs the place,
right,
owns the place. Yeah. Well, let's do some kind of short answer questions. These are some of my favorite parts. So, as a dad, what do you feel like your role is in your kid's life?
I think to be the provider and make sure they're not, they have food and place to live and all that, and just try to be an example.
It's funny. I think I could be totally wrong in making this up, but we get to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
I think we're the only species that actually has to birds is the only thing I can think of, that really has to provide for their kids for as long as we do.
Yeah.
A bird falls out of its nest and starts flying. A cow is born and is walking in seconds, and we're there under our care for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And years.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
I heard an interesting. I was reading an interesting counter to the standard accepted theory of evolution, saying, how does this make sense that the species that we evolved from, where their offspring are so become independent much more quickly, where how was it possible that whatever we evolved from was able to have such helpless offspring for so long, for such and survive as a species and not get picked off by prehistoric whatever, because they really need. Benji he's starting to come out of it, but he's spent the last. As soon as he's learning to walk, he's hell-bent on destroying himself. He just wants to.
Right?
He wants to. If he sees something, a table, he wants to either run into it or get on top of it and crawl off it, or fall down it, or stick it in his mouth, or something. He's hell-bent on killing himself.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's time like with your kids? What do you do with your kids?
Hide and seek is a big one right now.
Yeah.
Just playing games. I like making them. We like to cook for them, make breakfast, and make dinner. We've been trying to. For the longest time, we always would feed them, get them in bed, then Lindsay and I would eat. We've been trying to get our meals together earlier, so we all eat, which is not too relaxing right now, but it's kind of setting that precedent for the future.
What do you think you're preparing your kids for? What are you preparing your kids for in life?
I don't know. I think just prepare them to just kind of roll with the punches, and just have a broad set of knowledge, and be able to, I want them to be able to fit in with anything. I want them to be athletic. I want them to be smart, and I want them to read and play music, and just to be well-rounded.
Yeah.
I guess.
This is kind of like almost a lightning round. It's still kind of short answer that I like. So what are 3 qualities that you think a dad would have to have in order to be considered a super dad?
Patience. Whatever you call the ability to operate on a complete lack of sleep. Maybe you could just say energy. Maybe, I don't know.
SEAL training.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they could take whatever a pregnant woman or a new mom has and bottle that and give it to Navy SEALs, they might make them even more powerful.
Yeah,
than
it's
they
impressive,
are now.
isn't it?
Yeah, well, women moms, new moms are just incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, patience, energy.
And I think a lot to be able to focus on mom, and not lose that, that relationship is is still, I think the strongest of anything, because that's what keeps, that's what you keep it together for, a strong foundation for the kids. And if you let that go, then it trickles down to.
That's a really great answer, man. I think you're the first person to say anything to that effect, I think. And I think that's a wonderfully thoughtful answer. Yeah, I think that speaks volumes about you.
Oh, good. Good for me.
And Lindsay, whatever Casey wants. So what are some things that are on your I'm definitely not doing this list as a dad?
Let's see. We've talked about this. Disney World is up there.
Yeah, definitely not doing Disney
Definitely.
World.
Well, it's one of those things that we're praying that we don't get we don't get sucked into. It just seems, crowds and everything else. It seems like it's a fortune that could be spent on something else. So not for us. Obviously, it's works for a lot of people.
Say we went last year. I thought my daughter was going to be too young at 3.5.
Yeah,
but she died. She loved it.
Really?
No, yeah. Princesses everywhere,
Yeah.
and of course she's been
true.
given all the
We're super
princess
into the
stuff.
princesses and everything. We're just trying to, I guess, satiate that without having to go to Orlando and
Right.
wait in line for everything.
Spend
and-
$40 on a funnel cake.
Right. Yeah. That
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Anything else that you're not, whether it's an action or a thing that you're definitely not doing as a dad?
Nothing comes to mind. I guess we're just, we both, Lindsay and I come from different backgrounds with education, so we're not sure how that's going to go. Where I went through public school all the way through, and Lindsay went to Highland, and then she went off for boarding school for high school, and neither of those are a bad thing. So we're keeping all options open in terms of that.
I'd imagine you guys both favor the experience that you respectively had.
Yeah, I mean, Lindsay loves the fact that she said, she struggled through the first year in boarding school, but now looks back at it like it was the best thing that could have happened. And I love my time public school. Went to Fauquier and all that. I wish, I kind of think about that environment as not being very future focused, and maybe that was more me that was not future focused in the crowd that I was that I was with. But it would be, I think it's beneficial with my kids just to even though things worked out all right for me, it worked a lot harder not having like a clear path with a college degree and all that. So just keeping them, whether it's public school, private school, boarding school, whatever, like keep looking forward towards college, towards that next step. Yeah.
Cool. What's something you feel like you could improve as a dad?
I could be more, better with things like Lindsay comes up with. We have all these crafts that we're going to do today. We're going to make necklaces and paint and do all that. And I kind of keep
Teacher.
I keep it more. I try to keep it more simple, just mostly because I don't want to clean up after.
Yeah.
So if I had some more patience to go through things like that, or maybe I don't want to take the time to get them bundled up to go out in the cold or something like that. Just having a little more patience with things like that.
I can totally relate to that. Like, why are we going to spend 20 minutes getting ready when it's going to take 5 minutes to do it and then 15 minutes to unwind it?
Right, and then have muddy clothes and
let's be efficient.
And all the rest. Let's just play hide and seek because we never have to go outside.
I'm working on that too. Right? Like, what's best? Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
What type of dad would you like to be remembered as?
Just a supportive, when my kids are in college or after and are thinking about, everyone goes through those phases of bashing their parents, but, to be able to, when they come, everyone comes through that, and to just be able to be appreciative and think that, they're happy with the way that they were raised.
So to date, what do you think's been the most challenging part of being a father?
I think just sometimes just feeling like slogging through the day to day.
Yeah.
The mornings when that can seem to, it's 9 o'clock is a long way away when it's 5:30 and they're both awake.
Yep.
to take them to school. Getting home and it being the same deal. Like, how far away is bedtime?
Mm-hmm. Lindsay spends all day with kids and then comes home and has to work with kids. You spend all day running a business, got to come home, and the energy is a lot of energy is required.
Yeah. The way we're just kind of sometimes just shell-shocked after we get downstairs after putting them both to bed, and we just it's like we don't even talk sometimes for a few minutes of just sort of trying to get a bit of peace.
You see why parents, when their kids leave, like when their kids go to boarding school or to college or just get a job or whatever, it's like, hi, I'm your husband, nice to meet you, haven't talked to you in 15 years. Like I can see how that could really take hold.
Sure. Or let's go to Scotland or whatever, those kind of trips that you just put off for 20 years or whatever, just like let's just do something just for us. And that's way off in the distance for us now, but that's okay.
We're almost ready. Like we can leave the kids for a few days at a time. 2, 3, 4 days at a time, and hate to leave them, but love to go do stuff.
Oh yeah.
And 1.5 might be a little.
Yeah, we've made it up to two nights away.
Yeah.
And it's hard on us. It's hard on the grandparents that are stuck with.
They love their grandchildren.
After like 48 hours, it's a bit much.
They're happy to give them back for a little while. What is a gift that you would give to every dad on the planet if you could?
When it comes to gadgets, we have this great thing that we got for Finley. That's an alarm clock that lights up.
Yeah.
At just because she knows when.
Don't come out of your room.
Don't come out of your room until this thing turns green.
Yeah.
And she still comes out of her room about 4 times every morning, and we say, no, light's not green, get back in. And then she's so excited when the light turns green, and we have to come in and see it. And that's been, when it comes to, some $20 thing you buy off Amazon, that's been a pretty cool thing.
Worth its weight in salt.
Yeah. Otherwise, I just say, here's a gift certificate to somewhere to just get out of the house and include a hotel room and a bar tab.
Love that. Preferably at Molly's. Oh, what's the greatest hope that you have for your kids?
I mean, just joy.
Love that.
Whether they're rich and famous or not, or just doing. Just that they're happy and that life, is always going to have there's always going to be some suffering, but that they're as insulated as possible from anything I can protect them from.
Yeah, I think that's such a perfect answer. And you'd like to think that our parents would answer that in the same exact way. And it's like there's this constant of what's the goal? What's the goal? Be happy, yet we continue to do things that or counter to that.
Sure. Well, we think there's a means to an
that?
end there, and we were doing this to eventually reach this point of happiness when maybe we forget why we're doing what we were doing.
Yeah, I think that I'm feeling like it's day to day. You got to be happy in this moment and the next moment. You don't capture it and then you're done. It's part of every single day. If you were going to write a book about your professional / parenting life, can you think of some names of some chapters?
I don't know. I gotta think about, just everyone says with the pub, you should write a novel based on the characters that are in there, the day-to-day, I wouldn't say drama isn't quite the right word for it. The hijinks and the
hijinks, what a great word.
Just the absolute absurdity of day to day there, and so I don't know what I'd label the chapters as, but
I think hijinks is a great name for a chapter.
Absurdity maybe is a good name.
Great. What who's your favorite television dad, movie or TV?
An interesting one, and hard to say if it be your favorite, but an interesting one because I just love it, is Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
The balance of work and having definitely a different professional life and getting home to a private life, and obviously he's a sociopath and all the rest of it.
Yeah, sure.
But it's interesting to despite everything, somebody that at the core of it loves his kids more than absolutely anything, and would do anything and anything for them. I don't know why that's the first name that came to mind.
Yeah,
but,
I love that. I just rewatched the pilot a couple weeks ago. I hadn't seen it since it came out. I've
done the whole thing a few times, and it's such a great story. But it's a very complicated character. And I guess everybody's complicated. So
we all think we're special, but we're all special, aren't we? All right, this is one of my favorite questions that I have to borrow from Tim Ferriss. He calls it's the billboard question. You got a billboard on 95, and every dad's driving by it at 80 miles an hour, and they get to read a message from you, a piece of advice from Casey Ward on being a dad. What are you putting on that billboard?
Pick your battles. Don't sweat the small stuff, as much of a kind of cliche that is. Yeah. I guess, just maintain some sanity by not going overboard on every little thing. Try to keep the ship right and not let the little things pull it down.
Yeah.
Keep your head. I don't know.
I like it. Keep your head. Yeah. All right. This is actually, I'm going to ask you an Easter egg question at the end of this that I got to remember. But before that, this is my last planned question. If this recording lasts forever, and your kids, Benji and Finley's kids, their kids, you pass along something down through the generations, whether it's a message or a piece of advice or just something like, what would you say to them? What would you like them to hear from you?
I guess just, when it comes to generation after generation, just that we hope that it was a solid part of the chain, and I hope there's some effect 4 generations from now of what Lindsay and I accomplished with, and what our kids have accomplished. Yeah, when it comes to later on like that, I don't know what else to say other than you just hope that you had a positive impact on it. And
that's a cool answer. A good part of the strong part of the chain. That's a cool answer. All right. So that's the end of the interview, but I want to ask, because you've worked in a bar and own a restaurant bar for, 20 years now?
Mm-hmm.
20.
It'll be
almost.
Mine will be 18 years this year. Yeah.
You got to tell me one of your best bar stories.
There's a lot.
I know you got some favorites.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some good ones. We've got some of it is just like, some of it's a testament to Warrenton and how unique it is, but also that it's a safe place. I remember this woman just going absolutely bananas one night that she had her purse stolen, and she was not from out of town, and just someone must have swiped it. Maybe she left it in the bathroom and someone stole it, but it's been stolen, and I need to call the police, and I need to do all this. And then we finally found it. She was parked out on Main Street, kind of down in front of Black Bear. And when she got out of her car, she had left put her purse on the hood of her car to tie her shoe or something, and then walked inside. And the purse was still there. It had just sat there on the hood of her car on a Friday night for
hours.
And
That's
so
warranted.
that's warranted.
That's
And
warranted.
that's a great comment for warranted, I think. And also just sometimes when you're dealing with people and you're like, I know you think this is the way it is, but I can assure you that it's not. Yeah, there's been. I might have to get back to you with when I think about a really good, good story.
Your story reminded me of one in real estate. We had just sold a house, and it wasn't a day or two later, brand new appliances. Like, it was a brand new house.
Yeah.
And the person that moved in called me raising hell about how the refrigerator was leaking. It wasn't installed right, And I decided I'm going to take it upon myself. I'm going to drive out there and I'm going to figure out what's going on. It's in Delaplane, so it's a 40-minute drive. And I get there and the floor is wet, and I look underneath the refrigerator to find out what's going on. She had kicked an ice cube under the refrigerator and it had melted.
Yeah.
But it was all my fault, and the appliances is defective, and
Right.
the house is, what else is wrong with this house?
Oh yeah, I had a woman called just a week ago who, came up, and I had three new IPAs, and my husband had 4, and we've never been so drunk in our lives, and someone must have slipped us something, because I don't remember going home, and I don't remember the rest of my night, and. Let's think about it logically. Like, you're thinking that it makes more sense that maybe you just had a little more than you thought, as opposed to someone intentionally drugging you.
Yeah.
So
Probably
dealing with
also
things like
not.
that.
Probably also people not from.
Oh yeah,
Not from
yeah.
We can't tell any stories about all the locals. We all know too many people.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, cool. Well, thanks a lot, man, for
Thanks,
coming.
Tyler.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. So, we'll call that a wrap to today's Learning to Dad. Thanks, everyone, for listening.